Okay, hi everybody. It's Kasia from the Niagara-on-the-Lake Public Library, and we are going to be making this today, the spring robin. Thank you all for voting. We had a lot of votes. I'm very humbled by how many people are interested in doing these projects. So thank you for voting. We'll definitely have some more projects to see what the interest is coming up in the next couple weeks. But this is what we're going to make today. And yes, if you voted for the ladybug, don't worry, we will be making that one actually on Thursday this week at 1:00 p.m. Yeah, so we'll be doing both projects this week. We'll just wait a couple more minutes for people to join us because I did start a little bit early. And then I'll do a quick run through of materials and then we'll get started. Yeah, so the usual housekeeping items. I am from home, like most of you are. So that means my kids are home with me, my two boys and my two dogs, and they are right here beside me wondering why I'm talking to myself. Oh, I'm getting a paw from Evie. So if there might be interruptions by my boys or the puppies, it's just what it's going to be today. Yes, the dogs are looking at me wondering why I'm talking. Oh, there's Evie. Wondering why I'm talking to myself or to them. We'll just wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. But thank you all for joining in today. I'm excited to do this project. This is actually one that I painted probably over a year ago, this robin, and I just hadn't had an opportunity to make it. I probably made it sometime after spring and was like, oh, no one really wants to paint robins any other time of the year. It's more of a spring thing. But I thought this was a perfect opportunity to do so. So let's check the time. So we have about 1 more minute before 4:00. And then I'll do a quick rundown of materials and then we'll get started. So the only thing, if you're tuning in now, that you wouldn't have prepped that I did forget, so I apologize, is a pencil. So you're gonna need some kind of drawing material. Chalk works, marker works. Actually, marker might not be a good idea, but chalk works, pencil works, crayon can work as well depending on what kind of paint you're using. If you're using acrylic, you can use a crayon. But if you have a pencil handy, that's probably the best one. That's the only thing I forgot to put on the post about what you need to have ready. Okay, so thanks for joining us. Joining me for the NOTLLibrary Live Create with Kasia. I'm Kasia Dupuy. I'm from the Niagara-on-the-Lake Public Library, and this is actually our 3rd live stream. So I hope you're enjoying them. I'm enjoying doing them, especially being cooped up at home. Doing art is definitely an outlet that I'm realizing I really, really need. So thanks for allowing me to create with you and for creating with me. And any of the paintings that you've made, whether it's from this video or our previous videos, please post pictures of them. We love seeing them, what you've created. It's also good for me to see where we can improve. So if there's a step that gets a little bit lost, and I can kind of see it in one of your pictures, even though they often look awesome when they're missing stuff or look different than mine. I like seeing that feedback as well too. Also, if you have any suggestions about what you want painted, please email me or message us on Facebook. But if you want to reach me, it's kdupuy@notlpl.org, right there. Don't call because we're not there right now, but email, I'm always answering. Okay, so we are at 4:01. So we'll start with a quick rundown of materials. So this is the finished product. If yours doesn't look exactly like mine, that's totally okay. It's art. Do all the robins look the same? They don't. So that's okay if yours look a little bit different. I'm expecting that, and actually they might look even better. Material-wise, what you need is a surface to paint on. So I'm going to be using watercolor paper just like in my previous post, only because I have a lot of that laying around. If you don't have watercolor paper for the painting projects, you can often use copy paper, so printer paper. You can use a piece of cardboard. I'm actually running low on one of my sheets of watercolor paper, so eventually I might paint that or use the cardboard, and paint on that. Anything that you want to paint on, you're welcome to paint on. The other thing you need to make sure you have is a paint-friendly surface or a covered surface. So this is my drafting table. I mention every single time. My dad brought it over for me a couple of days ago. I'm okay with getting paint on this. This is okay. I don't mind if I smear paint and it's permanent. Please make sure wherever you're doing this painting, it's on somewhere covered and protected. So don't do this on a couch or on a carpet or on a wall, unless you're allowed. Make sure it's somewhere that you can clean, okay? Other material-wise, you need some paints, obviously, because we're going to be painting. So in the post, I requested that you have yellow, red, blue, black, white, a brown, and an orange paint to use in this project. All those colors will be incorporated in the robin that we're going to do. If you don't have orange, but you have yellow and red, no problem. Yellow and red make orange. If you don't have brown, this is the only brown I have right now. That's from a tube. If you don't have brown, you can always make brown. I made it in my last live stream. We can do that today as well. So don't worry if you're missing brown. You definitely need to have, for sure, white, black, blue, red, and yellow. Those colors we can turn into other colors to make for the robin. Brushes, for most of the projects that I do, I always these are kind of my go-to brushes if they look like they're my go-to brushes. This is a medium square brush, and then I have a fine point round brush. I also have these two usually on hand. This one's a newer one. I don't usually use that one too much, but this is my trusty brush. See how much I've used it? It's like tiny now. I used all those bristles. So to have two brushes is really good. If you only have one, no problem. We can make it work. You're going to need some water to wash your brush. This is my coffee. Hopefully I don't wash my brush in my coffee, although chances are going to happen. And make sure you have a paper towel to blot your brush. So it's not for wiping away anything. It's for after you wash your brush and you dab it just like so. Okay, so those are the materials. Oh, and a pencil. I mentioned that earlier, but that's the one thing that wasn't in the post. Make sure, go take a couple seconds, grab a pen, grab a pencil. Pencil's ideal because we're going to need that to do the sketching of our robin. Okay, I'll have a drink of coffee before I put my paintbrush in it. And then we'll get started. You guys excited? Anyone excited to paint a robin? I'm excited. Okay. Oh, also, I have these for the puppies to keep them busy so that they don't bug me when I'm trying to teach you. So they'll be busy for, 2 minutes or so. Okay, so grab your pencil if you haven't already. And don't worry if you don't have all the materials or I'm going a little bit too fast. This video will be uploaded after on our social media pages. So it'll be on our Facebook page, which you're on right now. We're going to post it on our Instagram story, and it will definitely be on our YouTube channel. The other two are there as well. So the waffle one and the oh my goodness, I forget what we did first. Oh dear. Okay, that means we should start painting. So grab your pencil. And I'm going to do this really slow because a lot of people, whenever I talk to them, a lot of students I have, they are nervous about drawing. It took me a long time to learn how to break down stuff into simple little shapes so that you can create the painting that you want. I sometimes think of them as shapes or kind of like, kind of like blobs, kind of like Lego if you look at the way that you can build it using Lego. So, ready? Grab your pencil. You're going to start right about here. So in your surface, where my hand is going to be where your robin is. So kind of like that. So leave some space underneath and leave some space above. So what you're going to do is start about here and you're going to make a rounded shape or a curve just like that. Okay. Then you're going to do another one on the other side just like that. So it's kind of like an almond shape, but they don't connect. And see the top is wider than the bottom. Okay, actually, this should be a little bit wider down here too. See, cool thing about art is we can always go back and change it. So I'm not going to worry about those. If you have an eraser, if you feel like erasing, go ahead. One little tip too, when you're drawing or sketching something out with pencil before you paint it, don't press super hard. So the pressure I was using is like a feather, like that. If you press really hard, you get a really thick, nice line. But when you go to erase it or paint over it, it's not really going to go anywhere. See? Still there? Whereas these ones, all gone for the most part. Okay, so press really light. You can always erase. So the shape that we've made is this shape here. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So the next one we're gonna do is we're going to start here and we're going to make a little scoop, just kind of joining. It's mostly straight, just has a little scoop like that. Okay, like if something could sit there. Now the next one that we're gonna do is you're gonna start here and you're going to come up and over just like that. So I didn't curve it over, I didn't connect it. I kind of went up and over like this. Okay, so it looks like I'm not sure what it looks like right now, like a seed. And then what you're gonna do next is connect this here. So it looks funny, but this is your bird's head. This is your bird's kind of chest. And then once we add the beak there, it's gonna look more like a birdie. But before we do that, we're gonna start on the side and make some wings. So they're widest here. They get narrow down here. They're joined before the bottom. So you're gonna start up at the top and go like this. And you're gonna go like this and join it like that. And you can make them wider or thinner, whatever way you like. And remember, your sketch right now is just a guide. If you want to change as you go, you're like, oh, I made that wing too thick, I made it too thin, no problem, you can always do that. That's one of the beauties of art, right? You can change as you go. So we have our chest, we have our head, we have our wings, and it doesn't look like much right now, but let's add the beak. So one little trick I've learned to draw a beak is you make the mouth, especially in a not realistic beak like this, you make the mouth line. So that's this line here, the opening. And then you start at the end and you bring it down and you start here and you bring it out, just like that. I usually make the top of my beak a little wider than the bottom of my beak, just like that. Beginning of a bird. How's everybody doing so far? Hopefully good. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, and you know what, see his head looks like a little flat. This is one of the cool things about art. I'm gonna just kind of pop it up a little bit and erase that part there. Okay, next thing, we're gonna draw an eye. Oh, I wanted to show you something with eyes. So I did a practice. I practiced and I did, actually I have 2 more sheets like this, but this is the one I was happiest with. These ones have kind of the same size eyes as my original. This one, I made a giant eye. Can you guys see that? He's kind of cute. It's a little unsettling. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that one, but I think this is where I'm gonna end up today. So like there. So it depends what kind of eye you wanna make, but what you're gonna do is see these lines here? You're gonna pretend that they just continue, like so. And it's okay if you draw them. You're gonna make the eye closest to the top one there, like so. And birds actually have pretty big eyes for their body. Yeah, much bigger than ours, than the ratio of our eyes. Okay, so we did the chest, we did the wings, we did the head. I rounded off my head a little bit. We did the beak, and we did the eye. Okay, and we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna do the branch. So at the top here, if you look at mine like this, I didn't do too much of a branch. I did just the idea of like something blooming around the robin. So I started in the corner and I brought one branch straight down. I did a side and then I added these little twigs in between. Does yours need to look exactly like mine? Nope. My only suggestion is don't make it too heavy. So don't add too many little branches. We just want we want a little twig of the tree because we want our robin to be the focus. Okay? So I'm gonna go like this and bring it down. And do trees branches grow really straight? No, not at all. So I'm gonna kind of go like this. And a cool trick I learned about branches is to make V's. So sometimes when people make branches or trees, they do this. They go like this, and they go like this, and they go like this. Sometimes that looks really cute. Oh, see, but I'm already doing it. These don't really look like branches, right? Think of branches in V's. So it always grows up and away like that, not straight across. See, look how funny that looks. So I'm gonna get rid of that one, but instead you're gonna go out. So I made a V, and I made a V, and I made even a V there, and a V. So make V's for your branches. And I'm actually kind of happy with that. Ta-da! Okay. Perfect. So we're not going to do the nest because we don't need to draw that, but we are going to start with the background. So if everybody would like to pick up their medium brush and get some of the blue and mix a little bit of their water in with the blue, or if you're using thicker or thinner paint, don't worry about adding water. But what you're going to do is start painting around your robin, just like so. And it looks really cool if there's texture in the background. So don't worry about making it look smooth and pristine. Skies don't always look that, especially if there's clouds. Now I'm using watercolor paper, so I'm gonna get some different shades and different tones of blue. So see how it gets lighter? I've added more water. If you're using a canvas or cardboard and it doesn't really want to spread out that nicely for you with some water, you can add a little bit of white and kind of blend that in as well. Okay, so you're gonna start covering all of the space around your robin, just like this. Now, if you make pretty thin paint like I've used, you can actually see my branches through there, right? So I didn't lose them. And you know what? Even if I did lose them, no big deal. I can always put them back in. Oh, and look, I accidentally got some on my robin's head. Also, not a big deal. You can always work with that later. You can always put it back in. Add some more white. Just like so. Okay. Now, if I'm painting a little bit too fast, don't worry. These will be posted again, so you can paint at your leisure. But I'm also working on watercolor paper, and it dries really quick, so I'm trying not to let it dry before I get all those brush strokes. However, they kind of look cool in here because they look kind of like clouds. Okay. So just like so. And if you've noticed, I've even gone under my bird where the nest is gonna go, but in case there's little bits of the nest that poke through, that's okay. You'll kind of see some sky behind them. It won't be like white. There's really no like white paper white in nature. Oh look, my paper, I used a little bit too much water. Can you all see that? My paper's kind of lifting up a bit. No big deal. Okay, so we'll give everyone a couple more minutes to work on their background. And I'm actually gonna take some tape and tape my paper down. Just another little art trick you can do. Go like this. Put it under the corner and just push it like that. Yeah, it's not really working that great today, but that's okay. Okay. So, everyone's getting their background done, I hope. Perfect. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to go onto the robin's chest. Now, see, you got a little bit of blue there? It happens. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of white just to kind of cover it. Kind of like how you prime a wall if you're gonna repaint it. That will kind of stop that blue from showing through the orange. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use orange. So if you have orange, amazing. If you don't have orange, you're gonna make some, and I'm gonna make an orange, even though I have one right here. So the best way to make a color is to not mix everything in one big puddle. So sometimes when I teach in classes, if I say to make orange, someone would take all the red and put it in all the yellow, and then they wouldn't have any red or yellow left, okay? The best way to mix a color is to make a small amount of it in a new spot by scooping some out and moving it, so yellow in this case, and scooping some red and mixing in a small area. Another thing I see when I'm teaching is people go like this and make a big giant puddle of the color. And actually every time you spread the paint out more and more, it actually gets, it dries out faster. So we don't really want that. We want everything to kind of stay in the middle. So see how I'm kind of turning my brush? That's making sure everything stays in one spot. and reduces the surface area. Science. Reduces the surface area of the paint and lets it dry slower. Okay, so we're going to start painting the robin's chest. So you're going to take your brush and you're going to start on one side of your robin, and see how I'm starting at the top and kind of sweeping the paint like this. I'm not doing that, okay, because robin's feathers don't grow that way. So start right under his neck or her neck, and you're going to cover this way. So I'm kind of following the contour. Here I can go across. You're going to kind of follow the contour of the robin. And see that little bit of blue that's showing? That's okay. No big deal. So my paint's getting a little bit dry. You know what, I'm going to scoop some of this in here. We're going to go like so. And it's okay if you see these streaks, see those kind of like vertical marks? They kind of look like feathers, don't they? So I'm going to go right down to the bottom like that. And I see that little bit of blue, so I'm going to put some extra paint right on top. Like so. Oh, look, I accidentally got it on the robin's head. No big deal. Okay. So give everyone a couple more minutes to do the first layer, like so. Puppies want to play. Okay. So we've got the first layer of our orange for the red-breasted robin. And what we're going to do next is take some of your orange. So I have this leftover orange. Get some yellow. We're going to lighten it up even more. We're going to add layers to this to make it look realistic. Take a little bit more orange. See how it's a little bit lighter than the other one? And what you're going to do is you're going to start to do the same thing. So you're going to put some layers just like this. And you kind of want them to sit on top of that orange that you made, kind of like this. So see how I'm making those brush strokes? I'm not painting like this, right? I'm kind of doing this, like feathers. Just like that. And feathers are glossy, usually. So when we do little marks like this, it kind of looks like a shine, like it's reflective. Okay, so there's my second layer. You probably can't see it too strong, although I can kind of see. The next thing we're going to do, after you do those ones, is we're going to use whatever leftover of this orange you have, even if you have just a tiny little bit. You're going to take some white, and you're going to mix it in to make a really light orange. So we did regular orange, like a medium orange. We lightened it with some yellow to make a lighter orange. And we're going to lighten it even more to kind of make like a pastel spring carrot orange. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to make some of those shines, just like that. And see how all my shines kind of have a curve? They're not straight up and down. They kind of have a curve like that. That's exaggerated, but I kind of add a little curve on them because this part of the robin is shaped kind of like an oval. So we want to mimic that. We want to remind your eye that that is what, that's the shape of this robin. There we go. So the shines are done. When you're done that, everyone can wash their brush. Dry it off. Ooh, sorry, my cord is on my phone. And then we're going to start with the black wings of the robin and the head actually too. We're not actually going to use black. We're going to use a gray. So see, I have this little bit of black there with some blue in it. We're going to use it. So I'm going to move some black over like this because I'm going to make a charcoal gray. And then I'm going to take some white from the side of my white, not from the middle. Because if I put this black brush in the middle of that puddle of white, it would turn the whole thing gray eventually. And see how I'm mixing my paint? It's all in one spot, just like so. So I made like a charcoal, almost black, but not quite black, kind of gray. And then what we're going to do when you have that. Oh, and see what brush I'm using? I'm using my smaller rounded brush because we're going to be getting into some fine details. If you don't have a fine brush like this and you have a brush like this, what you can do is when you have your color, use the chisel edge. So you're going to hold it up and just use the finest edge that you can of it. So don't push it down like this. You want to just use the edge and go little by little, like so. Okay? Actually looks kind of pretty. So I'll wash this one so I don't accidentally forget. Does anyone know what happens to brushes if you don't wash the paint out of them, especially if you're using acrylic? The brushes get wrecked. The paint dries in them, and then they're like a little rock, and you can't really fix them. Sometimes you can. I've done it a couple times, but for the most part, that poor little brush is gone. Okay, so I hope everyone has some charcoal, like charcoal gray on your fine brush or whatever one you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, oh, I just put my hand in my robin. We're going to start to fill in these spots. So just like when I was painting with, painting the curves, what you're going to do is start to follow that curve. Little brush stroke by little brush stroke and filling in that wing. Now see that tiny, oh, I hope my finger's not covering it, that tiny little bit of black or gray that got onto the orange chest of the robin, that's awesome. That's something that the paint just magically does for you. Kind of gives it like a rough edge, but it actually looks very natural. That's one of those things that if I tried and tried and tried and tried to get, it wouldn't happen. But if I just let the paint do what it wants to do, sometimes it works out that way. Usually it works out that way. So you can do the other side too. And see how I'm kind of feathering the paint on? I'm not painting a wing like this. Nope. You can if you like. But I'm just kind of working my way down. And that's why I get those kind of rough, feathery, kind of fluffy edges. Have you guys seen birds that kind of fluff their bodies out? Yeah, I like that too. I always think they look so cute. We have a whole bunch of sparrows that meet in our backyard. They meet. Every day they have a meeting. And one of my favorite things is watching them like puff up. They're probably arguing with each other or something, but it's entertaining. I enjoy it. So I ran out of this dark black charcoal gray, just like so. And I'm going to finish up those edges. Oh, look, I made it big. See, you might think that's a mistake, but I actually kind of like that. Go roll with it. Makes paintings look interesting. So we did our wings, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the head. So you're going to outline just like this, and you can feather as well. See, I made that line that we made nice and crisp. I made it kind of rough. That's great. That's awesome. Oh, puppies. Okay. Go around that eye. It's going to look a little creepy for a bit. I'm sorry, everybody, but we'll get there. It won't finish like that, I promise. Just like so. Okay. Ta-da. Okay. So, usually I would say to wash your brush, not this time. What we're going to do is go right into the black, and we're going to add some shadows to make this bird look realistic. So I'm leaving my brush the way it is, not washing it. If you've already washed it, no big deal. Don't worry. It's not a problem. We're going to take some black, and I'll show you here a little bit closer. Can you see in the wing there? There's like these little tiny specks of black. Not everywhere. I'm not going to cover all of my charcoal with that, but I'm just going to add in a little bit here. So see there as well? There's just like a few. There's like one kind of jagged line. So we'll do the wings first, and then I'll come back up to do the head and show you where the shadows are going to be. But we're going to do little ones just like that. Just a little bit to give it some dimension. Okay? So I'm going to do mine just like this. I'm going to go a little bit black here. And I'm going to put some more black like that. And I kind of want to do a little bit there too. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Oops. Ooh, I almost splattered black everywhere. Well, wouldn't have been that end of the world. And I'm going to go do the other side. And you're gonna put a little bit of black in there. Just like so. And that side is kind of fuzzy. I like that. I'm gonna see if I can get some fuzziness on this side. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So we did the wings. Can you guys see the wings there? Yeah, can you see the dimension? Oh yeah, okay, sweet. Okay. The stand that I'm using for recording is like a little bit beyond what I can see, so I have to go on my tiptoes to see. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of water to mine because my paint's kind of slightly drying out. So we did the wings, now we're gonna do the black on the head. So it will look a little different than this one. This one, like I said, I made a while ago, and you change and you learn new different ways. But see how I put a little bit of black here, and a little bit here, and a little bit just past the eye. So I'll show you this one that I made more recently. And this is the one I kind of like. So here, there is a little bit of black here, and a bigger patch there. I think we're gonna go with this one today. That might be easier to explain. And a tiny bit there, okay? Really, wherever you wanna put it, it's your painting. So you can do whatever you wish. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a bit of black here, like this. And put some under the eye. Kind of looks like a black eye right now. Don't worry, we'll fix it. Make a bigger patch there. I'm gonna put a little bit here too. Okay, maybe a little bit along the edge there. Yes, I know. Oh, you know what? We have to do a line around the eye too. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one more time on a blank piece of paper so everyone can see. I forgot what I was gonna say. So we're gonna go with this. This is the beak, a little different. Looks kind of like a duck now. Ooh, I kind of like that actually. Okay, so this is where your black is gonna go. So you can do some here, like this. You can do it along the bottom, like so. And yes, it looks weird because I'm working off of white. So I'm gonna put a little bit there. You're gonna put a big spot over there, like that. And then you're gonna put one like there, and you're gonna like that. Do you guys hear the dogs whining? Yeah? There's a squirrel that's tormenting them on the fence. So they're like begging me to go out and chase it. Yeah, don't look at me like that. Okay, so we've got the black down. So we're gonna go into some light gray. So if you have some of this charcoal left, what you can do is move it to a new spot, add in some white. Oh, look, I did the thing I told you not to do. Oh well, I know from there over, I'm gonna take from to mix with things. Okay, so I have some light gray. Finnegan, hey, Evie girl. No, you can't go out. No. Okay, so some gray. So we're gonna do the same kind of thing we did with the black, except we're gonna do a layer of light gray. And actually that might be a little bit too light. It's always better to go a little darker. You can always lighten it up, but it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to cover something that's too light. So here's the light gray that I have. So I'm gonna do them here. So this is the lightest. Oh, maybe not. We're gonna make it a little bit lighter. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. There's the lightest. And then this is the medium, like so. And then this is the dark, the black. Okay, so there's your variation. So you're going to get the light gray, and you're going to go on the wing, just like this, just to give it some highlights, like so. Okay, oh, I got a little bit of blue in there. I don't mind so much. And then you're gonna do a little bit around the eye, like so, and on the head, just like so. Okay, a little bit of gray. Okay, so after that you can wash your brush, and we're going to do black. Oh, actually, yeah, we're gonna do black for the eye. So this one isn't a super complicated step. It's gonna make our bird look a little bit more alive. You're gonna take black and you're just going to cover in that circle for the eye, like so. Okay, like so. And see, because we didn't use black for the rest of the body, we used like a gray, the black stands out because most birds have kind of like really dark eyes from the pictures that I looked at for reference. So the black works in our favor in this way. Okay. The next thing we're gonna do is we're going to paint the beak. So if you have some of that light orange left, just like so, you're going to paint over the whole beak. The beak isn't going to stay light orange. We're just doing a base coat to make the yellow that we're going to put on top stand out. Okay, so right now I think on the camera it looks like they're basically the same color, but we are going to lighten that beak up a little bit too. And then you can wash your brush, everybody. Okay, so it's coming along. Just give everyone a minute to catch up. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna let the eye dry. We're gonna make some brown. And the brown we can use in the nest and also in the branch. So I have the sand color brown, but if you don't have that one, or you need to make some brown, we'll help you with that right now. I used up all my palette space. So we'll have to make a new spot. Let's move these flowers out of the way. We'll put that there. Okay. So to make brown, if you're not sure if you don't remember, you can do any of the complementary colors. So blue and orange will make a brown, red and green will make a brown, and purple and yellow will make a brown. So I'm actually gonna make a brown with purple and yellow, but I don't have purple, so I'm gonna make purple. So that's actually all three of those primary colors together, right? So I have my yellow, I'm gonna add in some red. So right now I have an orange. I guess I could have used that orange over there. Oh well, if I need to make more, I can. And then take a pretty big scoop of blue and I'm going to mix it together. Okay, see how that's a little bit too kind of gray? There's probably a lot of white in that blue, which is making it so light. So I'm gonna take some more orange and mix it in. And if I want to darken it, what do you think I need to add? Maybe some black? I kind of like that. So take a little tiny bit of black, because black is pretty strong. It's getting to where I want it to be. Remember, you're mixing in one spot. You're not making this giant puddle of paint. Okay. All right, so there's my brown. So notice how I'm using my big brush. I'm gonna do the nest first. So if you have a bigger brush that you're gonna use for the nest, this is what we're gonna do. These ones that I made before, they're really hard to kind of draw this wispy shape. You can draw lines to help you follow, which will look like this. Do across and across and across, and they get wider as you get down, and then they start to get narrower again. But you don't have to do that. All you have to do is something like this. Okay, so I'm making these curved lines that kind of hug my robin. And they can go higher, they can go lower. The widest spot you want to be kind of in the middle of the nest here. And yes, we're making a robin, and we know it's a robin, but is it a photo of a robin? Nope. It's a version of a robin, so an abstract. Technically, we know it's a robin, our brain is letting us know that, but it doesn't look perfect. So same with a nest. We're not making a nest exactly how you'd see it in nature. One, we've got cameras to do that for us. We're making something that our brain knows is a nest, just like this. So this is what my brain is saying a nest looks like today. And it works, we know it's a nest. So after you do your first layer of brown, you're going to scoop a little bit into a new spot. And you gotta work kind of quick with this because you want it to blend. Mix a little bit more black to make a darker version of that color. And this is almost a gray now. And we're going to do some really quick layers. So see how that kind of makes the nest look more 3D? We're adding shadow, just like this, into our abstract version of the nest. I'm gonna add a little bit of water just because mine is starting to dry off. Oh, and you know what? I made an even darker color. You can do that too. we can put a couple layers of this darker color in as well. So after you've done your brown and then your 2 layers of dark and then darker, wash your brush, and then you can start doing your branch. So if you only have this one size brush, you can use it, obviously. But if you have a smaller brush like this, you can grab that one and start to paint your branch. So I'm not sure if you can see mine. If you've lost yours, this is the perfect time to draw it back in if you need. And if you didn't really like it the first time, perfect time to redraw it. I'm trying to remember everything I put. I think that's where I was at. Oh, I think this one's lower. Yeah, we're gonna add a little one there. And then you're gonna use your brown and you're going to start to trace. Now, I'm going all the way to the end of my branches. Try to use the teeniest tip of your brush. So if you use the tip of your brush, you get a line like this. If you push your brush down, you get a giant log. It's not gonna work. Logs don't really float like that in the air. It'll be too heavy. So you're gonna start to trace. When you're doing this part up here, it looks a little bit more realistic if you make it wider, right? Because that part needs to be able to support the rest of the branch. So it needs to be thicker, it needs to be stronger. Oh, sorry, my arm's in the way, everybody. Here we go. Okay, so we're just doing your branch like this. So, and like I said before, branches, not straight. They can be a little wonky. They look good that way. The next thing that we didn't draw are some of these buds. So I made these little tiny buds on this branch here. Ooh, that was really fast. These little tiny buds. It's really simple. All you have to do is use this brown and do some little dots like this. Anywhere you think a bud would want to live. And see how I'm alternating them? Well, I guess I kind of was. I started talking. Just like so. You don't really usually get buds here. It's just at the part that wants to grow, right, of the tree. So all those will have little pink, or whatever color you want to make actually. But pink kind of stands out the nicest on these ones. They'll all have little pink petals that we'll do in a minute. So if you've used up what you can of the brown, you have some of this dark brown, you can get it on your brush and you can do just like a quick little shadow like we did on the bird's wings, just over some of this twig that you made. Not over everything, just over a few spots to make it look more realistic, like so. And even there I did a little bit too much, so I'm gonna take some more light, I'm gonna work it back in. That's another cool thing about painting, right? Often if you don't like something, you can go back and kind of fix it up. Play around with it a little bit. Okay, so give everyone a minute to catch up. What we're still gonna finish up is the rest of the nest, because on that one I added a little bit of green and a little bit of red, like a reddy brown. We still have to do some buds on the twig that we just made. And we have to make our bird look alive by giving it a shine in its eye. And we have to finish up the beak. So we have a few more steps, everybody. How's it going so far? Hopefully good. I can't always see the comments, so if you're commenting, I'm sorry that I can't answer. I do think someone from the library is logged in and they're answering for me, so that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so get that last step finished. And again, if I move too fast, if you miss something, don't worry, we will be reposting these once we're done. We're gonna save the recordings and we'll put them up on our YouTube channel and then on all of our social media pages. Yeah, so don't worry. And if you did miss a step or it's going too fast, just sit back and relax and enjoy. I'm no Bob Ross, but sometimes it's nice, especially on a gloomy day like this, to just watch something come to life, even if it is an abstract version of a robin. Okay, so I already started taking yellow what we're gonna do next is the beak. I'm gonna change the order of what I said a little bit. So take a little bit of that yellow that you have, and what we're gonna do is just go over top. Oh, and mine's not dark enough. So I'm gonna take a little bit, or it's not light enough, sorry, it's the same tone, same temperature as that previous orange I did. So it means they look kind of the same depth. Do you guys see that? I'm gonna put some light over top. And if I go over the whole thing, that's okay. Just like so. Okay. Now it looks funny, but we're not done that one yet. And then after you're done that part, you can wash your brush. And we're gonna take a little tiny bit of white. Now if you look on my brush, see there's not that much, tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. Just gonna get even more off of it. We're gonna do a shine on the beak. So the mouth will be right here, and we're gonna do that next. The shine on the beak. Ooh, my brush is separating. I'm gonna get my trusty little tiny brush, like so. This poor brush, I don't know how many more paintings it's got. Eek. You're gonna do a shine just at the top of the beak, like that, and along that bottom part there. Okay? And if it's a little bit too much, what can you do? You can cover it, right? Take a little bit of this and just kind of save some of it or blend some of it away, just like so. Yeah, that was better. But again, one thing when I'm teaching my students too is that whenever we do shines in the eyes, if you look at any of the masters paintings, the paintings that are most famous, like the Mona Lisa or other ones like that, if someone looks alive, it's because they have a shine in their eye. But the shine in the eye is often just this blob of white, just a blob of white. But your brain tricks you into thinking that it's shiny and it's alive, and it's really cool. And I love that about art history. I love art history. It's one of my favorite things ever. Okay, so we're gonna go, since we have white, we're gonna get a little bit more white on our brush, and we're gonna do the shine. Speaking of shines, we're gonna do the shine in the robin's eye. So I'm actually gonna pick this up, and we're gonna do it a little closer so you guys can see. And I made a mistake there, no big deal. Maybe it's a feather that was caught in the wind and it's blowing away. So what we're gonna do, and this one's I'm just showing you for reference, see what it looks like. We're gonna do a shine here, little shine there, contour the eye there with a really fine line, as small as you can get it. And then we're gonna do here and like a broken eyebrow. Because this part of the eyebrow, I was looking at pictures, is not connected here. It's actually part of the beak, and it goes up like this. And then there's an eyebrow there. It's usually feathers. And you wanna make sure it goes past. So don't worry, I'll walk you through that again. That was a lot of information. But I go through it for myself as well so that you can see what we need to do. So we'll start with this one. So we're gonna do a shine here and then a little tiny dot like that. It looks kind of cute already. If you like it like that, you can leave it like that. If you want to do a tiny little shine there, you can. If you've accidentally made a giant shine and it's bugging you, just let it dry and take away what you don't like later with black. I do that all the time. Like later, I kind of like the way that turned out today. But sometimes if I do shines and I do too big of a glob, I wait for it to dry and I just delete it with black. It's a good way to think about it. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make this little eyebrow here. That is the top part of the eye, like that. And then this one, we're going to go past the eye like this. And actually, I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker up here. Okay. Then you're gonna go underneath the eyeball and do something like this. And it's okay if it looks feathery. I kind of like that. This thing is covered in feathers. Why wouldn't it look feathery? Okay. There we go. We did the eye. I'm just gonna do a little tiny bit here to make it look like the eye is rounded. Yeah, like so. Okay. So, up close, looks kind of funny. Far away, it kind of does what you want it to do, right? That's another thing about art. Stuff looks really weird up close sometimes, but your brain tricks you into thinking that that's the way it's supposed to look, and that's the way it works. So since we still have white on our brush, we can take a little bit more of that. And if you have some gray, any gray that's still kind of wet, I'm gonna take just a tiny bit and mix it into a really, really, really light gray, like so. And we're gonna do some of these highlights, some shines on under the chin and here. Because if you looked at a robin up close, they kind of have those little little white specks. Every robin's different, kind of like every dog has different markings. But a couple that I've seen up close have had those white specks. So we're gonna go like this. We're gonna take some of that gray. It's really, really light. You probably won't even see the difference of it on here. But you're gonna do little tiny feathers. And look, I'm barely touching the page. Just like so. And I'm just gonna go around the head, just like that. Okay, so we'll let everyone get caught up. So I'll just kind of mimic where I was. I won't do it again because it'll get too much white. But you're gonna do under here. You're gonna follow along the back of the head. You're gonna make that curve, and then you can do a few more in here to make it shiny. Yeah. Who knows the way that the light is shining on that day that we are, illustrating in paint. So it's okay if these shines are somewhere else. Yeah, it's a painting. So after you do the head around here, what we're gonna do is add a couple here, just on the side. And it's good to look for a spot. Oops, sorry if they couldn't see that. It's good to look for a spot that has a lot of gray and just do a little bit on top of that gray. Not covering the whole bit of gray, but it kind of shows the dark to light, right? It shows the gradation. So it would make sense that the shiniest part, the lightest part in this case, would be on the next shiniest part. Ta-da. Okay, so let me show you. This looks, my brush is running out of paint, but I kind of like that. So this looks funny up close, but a little bit farther away, and it looks like it makes sense, right? Okay, so let's wash our brush. We'll let everyone get caught up on that white space quickly, and then we're going to go on to the pink buds, because then we can use some of that pink in the nest. And then I think we're almost done, everybody. Hopefully it's going really well. I'm excited to see these. Yeah, this is a trickier painting. So I'm really proud of everyone already for what I'm sure you've accomplished or what you're planning on accomplishing. The other thing about these videos and about how I teach painting in general and art in general is that don't worry if it doesn't look amazing the first time. The whole reason of these videos and to do things like this is so that you can practice and try it again. I always say to my students that, trust me when I say not everything I make turns out. There are many things that I'm like, I have to do it again. I think that's just a part of making art. Yep, it teaches you to try it again and make it better this time and learn from what you learned from your mistakes that you might have done last time. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make some pink. So you take some white, you take some red, you mix it in a new spot, and you don't need a lot. It's gonna be like that. And I put my hand in the paint. And then what we're gonna do is on the buds, you're just gonna do a little tiny mark, just like that. Little tiny one. And yeah, it looks weird up close. Looks like it doesn't really have a place to be. But from far away, it looks like they're blooming, right? Okay. So just like so. Need a little bit more water. Is anyone else using watercolor paper? Anybody else? Yeah, I find I usually paint on canvas, but I don't really have enough canvases to do for these. So watercolor paper is good. And it's practice, right? Aw, thank you. Thanks, Taylor. Hopefully you had fun. I'd love to see them. So we did our little pink spots. And then we're going to use the pink that we made and put that into the nest. So I'm gonna use my small, actually, you know what? I'm gonna use my bigger brush again. It's up to you. I'll show you, watch what the step is, and then you can decide what brush you wanna do. So I'm gonna use some of this pink. I'm gonna mix a little bit of brown into it, whatever brown I have left. Actually, no, I'm gonna mix a little bit more red, make it a darker pink. And you're going to use the tip of your brush and do some little like squiggles. And it looks like that robin has gathered some random pieces of string or yarn and woven it into their nest. layers. Layers make things look realistic. It's kind of cool. And it's very subtle. So if I bring it up closer, can you see that? Yeah, very subtle. Have you seen a robin's nest or a bird's nest that has like a random thing in it? We had a nest at my parents' house, and it had a big blue, someone must have gotten rid of blue yarn, and it was like this blue nest. Yeah, we're like, oh, interesting. Interior decorating robins. So next thing we're gonna do is make some green. So I have a little bit of my yellow left over. You know what? There's not even enough to move it. I'm going to take some of this and mix it to make it green. Oh, I got some black in there too. Oh well, that's okay. It's for a nest. And see how I'm mixing it in one spot? Good thing to do. And then up close, what you're gonna do is add in some of these. And they're like little squiggles, very lightly. And I'm gonna put some that go up there too. Okay, yeah, I kind of like that. So it's coming together. Okay. Now the last thing to this nest, and I know it's many steps for a nest, but think of how long it takes a bird to actually make a nest. So we're actually making a nest in record time. So we're gonna take a tiny little bit of black on your brush, just a tiny little bit. I'm gonna get most of that paint off. I just want a tiny little bit on there. See how when I paint, like you see little dots, means there's not much left on there. And what we're gonna do is add the last layer of dimension, and we're going to do some of these in there. And I add some loops. Yeah, okay. Ta-da, sorry about the shadow, everyone. The light is changing. It's getting later in the day. Okie dokie. So that is, oh, we forgot one thing. We need to make, oh, you know what? This is optional. I don't have much green left. Oh, and I just made it even darker. That's okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of green, and on the buds of the tree, I'm going to put just a little highlight of green. Mine, it will probably not be that strong to see because my green is kind of turning into a brown because I mixed some black into it. Did you know that actually most black paints are mostly made of green? Yeah, most acrylics are actually have like a really strong green base, which is kind of cool. Oh, I missed a little bit there. Maybe that one just didn't open yet. And you can add some green in the twigs because usually new growth of a tree tends to be a little bit lighter. Okay. So that, I think, is finished, everyone. All right. So I'd love to hear how you managed. This was a tricky project with lots of steps, everybody. So I'm proud of you for doing it, proud of you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We'd love to see them. If, like I said, if some spots were too fast or you ran out of a color or I moved too quickly, we will be reposting these, so you can make as many robins as you want. And if anyone has any feedback for me, I would love to hear it. You can email me at kdupuy@notlpl.org, just right there. And if you have any suggestions of things you'd like us to paint, please let me know. I'd love to try my hand at them and see how best I can make it happen for everybody. So if you enjoyed this one, there's also 2 more videos that we have posted on our YouTube channel. And this one, the Lucky Ladybugs, will be happening on Thursday at 1 o'clock. So that I'm going to be posting the materials list very shortly about what we need for this. Basically the same things, just a fewer colors than we use for the robin. And other than that, I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. And thanks for tuning in.